by Northwestern Mutual. Number 2, Oklahoma. Number 3, Georgia in the college football playoff semifinal. New Year's Day at 5 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
Jim from Tuscaloosa has been banned from the program. This is something that a lot of people have suggested for some time. The powers that be have decided that Jim is done.
The Paul Feinbaum Show, Monday at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and the SEC Network.
Time is now! It's our time! Let's go!
This is your home for Notre Dame sports. ESPN 1220 GIR. Kate Gerardo. This is a local sports center update from Southeast Missouri's ESPN Radio Network.
I'm Eric Shun. This Sports Center update is brought to you by Bertrand Law Firm. Visit TreyBertrand.com. The Kansas City Chiefs are back in the driver's seat in the AFC West after a second straight victory, a 30-13 blowout of the Chargers at Arrowhead. Rookie running back Kareem Hunt ran for 155 yards and a score. He also caught a touchdown from Alex Smith, who threw for 231 yards and 2 TDs. The 8-6 Chiefs can clinch their second straight division title with a win in either of their next 2 games against Miami or Denver. The St. Louis Blues were shut out in Winnipeg 4-0. The Notice scored just 6 goals in the last 5 games. St. Louis is now in a 2-way tie with Nashville for first place in the Central Division with 46 points. The Blues play in Calgary Wednesday. The SEMO men's basketball team had its 4-game winning streak snapped at Kansas State Saturday, 89-71. The 9-2 Wildcats shot a season-high 63% from the field. The OVC's leading scorer, Denzel Mahoney, led the 6-5 Redhawks with 23 points. Southeast will host Bradley University Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock.
Get Sports Center updates every hour on Southeast Missouri's ESPN 92.9 FM and 1220 AM.
One of the best things about sports is that unexpected surprise performance, that big play from a rookie or free agent. And that's what's great about Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. You know about our wings, but the surprise is all of our Etc. Sandwiches, wraps, quesadillas, salads, subs, seafood, amazing appetizers, and awesome daily specials. Sure, you love our award-winning wings, but don't forget our Etc. And now, when you can't eat, drink, and watch here, order online for pickup at togo.wingsetc.com. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Good food, great times.
Every season finds a landowner surveying fields at the break of day, a steward of a few acres or many more, conserving the land for future generations, working hard for a better yield tomorrow. From century farms to weekend getaways, native grasses for pasture, wetlands for waterfowl, caring for resources that benefit all, a way of life for a landowner. Find help and workshops at MissouriConservation.org.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
Low clouds, fog, and poor visibility will improve around mid-morning, and then we'll set the stage for some sunshine. Mild temperatures here this afternoon at 51. Partly cloudy tonight, low 40. Clouds on tap for tomorrow. Warm temperatures with a high 58 and showers on the way for Wednesday. Mild temperatures, highs at 53. Richard Weathergood, the Weather Channel.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast right here on the ESPN Radio Network.
Well, dude, obviously you'd be better as the focal point of the show. Would I be better for society? No.
The Ryan Russillo Show, weekdays at noon on SEMO ESPN and SEMOESPN.com. This is a proud presentation of Mississippi River Radio Sports, the sports authority.
Check this out right here. Do it!
It's time now for the Red Hawks Coaches Show on the SEMO ESPN Radio Sports Network. The Southeast Coaches Show airs at ESPN 92.9 FM and 1220 AM from Wings Etc. in Cape and Jackson. This is your chance to delve deep into the Red Hawks basketball season with head coach Rick Gray. So what do you say?
Come on, let's go!
Let's go! Let's go live to Wings Etc. on SEMO ESPN.
Welcome to the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau, and we will be here until 1 o'clock. This will be our final show, by the way. Programming note, this will be our final show until January 8th. So the next 2 Mondays, we will not have a show, and of course that's because of the holiday season. You've got Christmas coming up, also the New Year's. So make a note that we will not be having a show the next couple of weeks. Keep that in mind. Coach Coach Rick Ray is here. We'll be talking with the Red Hawks head coach, not only about the game against Kansas State, but SEMO is also going to be hosting Bradley here on Wednesday. And mark this down. This is going to be a 1 o'clock in the afternoon midweek game, so you don't see that very often. What we do want to do is invite you to Wings, etc. Where on Mondays they have their 69 cents for the jumbo wings. And they also have award-winning jumbo wings for dine-in or carry-out. They have a full menu featuring their freshly made burgers, wraps, subs. They have quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and much more. And their ultimate nachos, a part of that appetizer lineup here at Wings, etc. Justin Carpenter, Red Hawks talented freshman post player, is going to join us a little bit later on in the show. He is here. Let's welcome in the Red Hawks head coach, Rick Ray. Boy, this weather is it's got that aggravating little mist where it's just enough to get you a little bit wet and enough to make it kind of slick on the roads.
Well, I'll take your word for it. Obviously, I don't spend a lot of time outside during the season, just kind of in the cave watching tape and practicing. But it's been warm, and it was really warm in Manhattan at that point in time. So I don't know if this is the whole global warming effect, but it's been really not inclement weather here so far.
What's your experience been when the weather is a little warmer in the wintertime? Attendance can pick up at home games. I mean, when it's really cold, it seems like people may say, well, let's not get out.
Yeah, well, I hope that's the case. Obviously, our students are not here because finals is over with. So the families and really the kids coming out at a time there at 1 o'clock, hopefully they can get out and come watch us play. And obviously we've been playing well here during this stretch. So it'll be some good basketball. And Bradley is a really quality team and playing great basketball right now.
You know, we'll talk more about Bradley, but they're showing signs that they could be a top 3 or 4 team in a good Missouri Valley Conference, and a kind of a wide-open Missouri Valley now that Wichita State is out.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. I've got some really good friends that are head coaches there at the Missouri Valley Conference, and they actually had to come to St. Louis to have a vote about what to do with Wichita State and them leaving and things like that. And there was a resounding yes that they had no problem with Wichita State going to a different conference. And now, it's like you said, it's really wide open because trying to figure out who's the best team in that conference with Northern Iowa, Missouri State, Bradley. Illinois State has been really good. They've struggled a little bit here thus far. So
Evansville's 10-2.
Evansville is winning games without their best player, Ryan Taylor. So I talked to Coach Simmons a couple days ago, and they've not had him for an extended period of time now for about 2 weeks, and they're still winning games. So it really is a wide-open conference.
Now, with Taylor at Evansville, and Austin Peay took him into overtime at Evansville the other day, but Evansville won the game. They improved to 10-2. Is he out for going to be out for a long period of time into conference play?
Well, I really don't know. They were without 2 starters at this point in time. They're without Taylor, and I can't remember who the other starter is. So I think they played the entire game, and they only took maybe 2 or 3 threes the whole game. Because their 2 best shooters are out. So Marty's got them, believing and doing the things necessary in order for them to win.
Of course those guys couldn't have been out when you played them, right?
No. But you know what? I think the way he coaches them and the way they're so disciplined, it still would have been a great ball game.
Red Hawks played at Manhattan, Kansas on Saturday against Kansas State, a team that was leading the Big 12 Conference in scoring defense. They were number 2 in field goal percent defense. Before you even made it to Manhattan, Kansas, all your players had finished their finals, so the school term basically was over for your kids. So you decided, hey, this is a 7-hour bus ride. Let's not cramp them on the bus for what really turns into an 8-hour ride because you're going to stop for an hour to eat at some point. So it's 8 hours basically of travel. You decided to make the move. Let's make this a 2-day trip. Let's not cramp them on the bus all for one day. Let's spread it over 2 days.
Yeah, and I mean, we always make all our decisions based on our guys' academics because they're here to be students first and foremost. So we always make sure, that we make our decisions based on, what's the best thing for them not missing class. Well, obviously, with them not being in class now, with finals being over with, we could break up the trips. So we took that opportunity and didn't want to be on the bus for that long and actually broke up the trip really nice there. We stopped in Columbia, Missouri, Got a chance to eat some good food, play some pool, kind of hang out a little bit. I got a chance to visit with some of my friends over with the Mizzou staff, with Conzo Martin and Chris Hollander.
Who have been to Columbia, you stopped at Boucher's, which is a very famous hangout in Columbia for their burgers. And you were taking names at the pool table. I know you were kind of dominating some people at the pool table.
Yeah, I was undefeated at shooting pool there that day. So I used to love to shoot pool when I was a kid. Obviously, with my schedule, I don't get an opportunity to do that. So at some point in time when my boys get older, I got to try to convince my wife to get a pool table, in there. So I won't be able to beat my boys at basketball at some point in time, but hopefully I can always be able to beat them at pool because that doesn't take any athleticism. So it's a good way to bond and kind of hang out with your team. And I know the coaches over there at Mizzou were raving about that place, so I wanted to go over there and get a chance, and the burgers were great.
They were good.
And then we got a chance to go back through, and through my hometown there, we actually stopped in Kansas City, Kansas. So my high school was about a mile away. I grew up about 2 miles away where we stopped there at Gates Barbecue, got a chance to get some good food. So hopefully during my stint here, we've hit Arthur Bryant's, we've hit Gates, so we'll continue to go through that ring of like good barbecue spots there in Kansas City and treat those guys to a good meal.
Well, the key is to keep scheduling teams that will take you through Kansas City.
Yeah, either schedule like UMKC or KU or Kansas State, places like that will take you through Kansas City.
Wichita State, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, get Wichita on the schedule. So for those who may not know, because I know you tweeted out a picture of the front of Gates Barbecue and some of the food. Explain to people who may not have been to Arthur Bryant's, may have heard of it, or may not have been to famous Gates Barbecue. What's the difference between the two?
Well, to me, it's all about, like, your preference. I think some places in the Kansas City area are better at brisket. Some places are better at the ribs. Gates is really known for their burnt ends. So to me, it's all about your preference, about the sauce and things like that. But to me, every place has something as far as like what your meat selection is that they're better at.
I got a friend who is a really big barbecue guy, enters contests and things, likes Gates Barbecue, so I got him a bottle of the sauce to bring back. That's a good Christmas gift, right?
Oh, yeah, it's the best. I know my mom used to send me some Gates Barbecue sauce because they used to didn't distribute it, but now they're doing that, so you can just go in there and buy you a bottle or even have it shipped.
All right, so if you got one night in Kansas City, just you and the family, and someone's going to take you out to eat, and they say, okay, where are we going? Arthur Bryant's or Gates? Where are you going?
Boy, you're going to put me in a bad situation back in my hometown there. I would probably go Arthur Bryant's because I like their brisket a little bit more, but I know a lot of people want Gates because of the burnt ends. But I'm more of a brisket guy, so I would go with Arthur Bryant's.
Well, ask Justin Carpenter if he's a big barbecue guy. I know you were asking Milos Vranic what he thought of the barbecue when we were at Gates the other day.
Well, I tell you this, a funny story about Milos. We had just came off a loss there, and I was really on my guys, and we kind of got into them a little bit, had some difficult practices. And so when we first walked into Arthur Bryant's there, like most
This is last year.
This is last year. Yeah. Most good barbecue spots are not really nice places,
Right.
So if you see a really nice barbecue spot, the food is probably not very good. So we go in there, and it's kind of a rundown situation a little bit and things like that. So Milos comes up to me and politely says, hey, Coach, is this still punishment for us not playing well the other game? and I said, no, Milos, this is not punishment. This is the establishment. This is the way it is. And so he finally ate, and Milos had never had barbecue. This is the first time having barbecue because obviously he's from Serbia and he's been up in North Dakota where, they don't have barbecue.
I was going to say they probably don't have a whole lot of barbecue there.
And so this is the first time he ate barbecue, and he loved it. And so you talked about, like, Milos, he just loves to eat. And you're going to ask, like, Carp, what's his best food that he had there? It won't matter with Carp. He loves food. I mean, he's just going to eat anything that's put in front of him.
Now, I believe you said as far as appetites and being able to sit down and put a quantity of food inside your body, Carpenter's a champ on this team. Is that right?
Well, I don't know if he's necessarily the champ, but I know he's a champ at eating it fast. Okay. Now, he eats a lot of food. I mean, he's 6'9", but he eats it fast. So I'll never forget, I had my boys with me, and we went down and had some lunch doing one of the river festivals. And so Carp sat down and ate, and he must have ate like 2 burgers and fries and his drink in a matter of like minutes. and so they were fascinated with that. So the next time we had a meal, my wife sit down. She had everything all prepared and nice, and the boys just start scarfing the food down as fast as possible. And she's like, "What are you guys doing?" And it's like, "We're trying to eat like carp. We're trying to eat like carp." So that didn't go over very well. But, no, he's a fast eater.
All right. We'll talk with Justin Carpenter coming up in just a few minutes. So with Arthur Bryant's last year, Milos was a big fan. It seemed like he was more of a fan of Arthur Bryant's after he ate at Gates, although if I had to choose between the two, I think I might have given the edge to Gates a little bit.
Yeah, I tell you, it's all about personal preferences. Now, I don't know if you can ask a person that's probably had barbecue 2 times in his life, which one does he prefer right there. But I'm just glad that those guys get a chance. I mean, this is what college basketball is about to me, is like giving these guys life experiences. And so now when they get older in their years, they can say, hey, have you ever been to Kansas City? And, you ever had Arthur Bryant's or Gates? They can say, yeah, we've been there with our team. They say, have you ever been to Cancun? Like, yeah, we went there to Cancun with our team. So to me, like, not only are we, like, developing on the court, but giving these guys life experiences that they'll never forget, to me, is what it's all about.
Redhawks basketball coach Rick Ray joining us. It's the Coaches Show. We are live at Wings, etc., in Cape Girardeau. And this programming reminder, no Coaches Shows for the next 2 Mondays because of the holidays. We'll be back January 8th right here in the Cape Girardeau location. All right, when you get to Kansas State, you knew going into the game, first of all, that Kansas State was ranked number 1 in the Big 12 in scoring defense, number 2 in field goal percent defense. You watched plenty of video and saw that this is a team that can really lock you down on the defensive end, and they were probably going to be breathing smoke, breathing fire, because they were held to 53 points in a loss to Tulsa in Wichita the previous Saturday. So those were probably some hard practices from Kansas State by Bruce Weber leading up to your game.
Yeah, and just like us, they were in finals, so they had a whole week of preparation to get ready for us. But more importantly, you talk about that Tulsa loss. They shot a ton of threes, and that's uncharacteristic for their team.
31 three-point attempts.
Yeah, and so I knew that they were going to have a concerted effort to try to get the ball into the paint and have paint attacks, whether by throwing the ball into the paint on post touches or driving the ball into the paint, getting offensive rebounds. So we knew they would be ultra-aggressive on the offensive end trying to get paint touches. And then you just talk about what they do defensively. They're in 6 categories. They're in the top 50 in the nation in 6 different defensive categories. And so they're a really good defensive team. They're holding teams to 61 points per game, and we score 79 points per game. So we knew something was going to have to give in that department. And Coach Weber is an excellent coach. He knew he was going to have his guys ready and ready to come in and compete, and we just weren't ready for that.
That's the thing about Bruce Weber. Boy, you just go back and look at his resume of success. 5 years at SIU, took them to a Sweet 16. They've never been to a Sweet 16 in SIU Carbondale in the NCAA tournament. They won the NIT back in, I think, 1969, and when Walt Frazier was there. Then 9 years at Illinois, took him to the title game, the championship game in his second season there. I know some people say, well, some of those guys were Bill Self's guys. Well, that was 2 years after Bill Self had left the University of Illinois. And then he's got 3 20-win seasons and 3 NCAA tournament appearances in his previous 5 years at Kansas State. I mean, the guy just wins.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you go back to that reference about whether they were Bill Self's players or Bruce Weber's players. It doesn't matter. You have to coach them.
Right.
And so, first of all.
But I'm sure you heard that. I mean, it was like when Tubby Smith won at Kansas, people were like, well, it's Rick Pitino's players. Well, who's coaching them?
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. I mean, you also have to sell to those players to stay. I mean, because they have the option to transfer. So if they didn't believe in Coach Weber, they could have transferred. And then for him to get that team to play guys that are individuals to play as a team. And I think that's their only loss of the season maybe when they lost in that championship game. I can't remember if they lost 1 game or 2 games that whole season. So, I mean, what it all boils down to is that Bruce Weber is a really good coach. And he spent all that time, I think he was 18 seasons as an assistant coach under Gene Cady. Yeah. So if you spend all that time under Coach Cady and you don't learn anything, then you're not really any sort of like, hey, just by osmosis, you have to be able to learn something.
So Kansas State comes out, boy, they hit you in the face early. They really got out and were shooting the ball extremely well. I mean, this is – in your 3 seasons, no team has shot 62.5 against a Rick Ray team. That's how hot this team was on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I thought for the first time ever that we didn't go out and compete as far as like being afraid a little bit. I thought the environment was a little too big for us. The opponent was a little too big for us, and that's the first time that I ever felt that our team was a kind of afraid in the moment, because that's the best thing I've loved about our team, regardless of what our win-loss record was. I thought every single time we set foot on the court that we went out there to compete and we were not afraid of the moment. That was the first time ever that I thought that had happened. And so we kind of had that deer in the headlights, look, at the very beginning.
Are you thinking, okay, Evansville, good program, nice venue, mid-major. La Tech, nice venue, mid-major. That all of a sudden, okay, now we're playing high major.
Yeah, no, I think that's had a little to do with it. I think it had to do with the opponent. I can't pinpoint what it was, because obviously if I could, I would have done something about it prior to. But I just thought that we went out there and we really made some uncommon, errors that we normally don't do. Just not things as far as like, hey, fundamentals, but just, hey, getting back on defense. We weren't safeties. We were just kind of like walking around a little bit and did some things that we just don't normally do. Guys had open shots, didn't knock them down. We had some unforced turnovers. I think in the first 3 minutes we had 4 turnovers that led to baskets for them. We didn't rotate as far as jumping to the ball. So, obviously Kansas State played well. But we didn't help our situation with our offensive performance by turning the basketball over, by not getting back defensively. And once it started there, we really couldn't stop it. Then in probably the last 10 minutes of that first half, we started to kind of calm down a little bit. I think we cut it to 11 or 12. And then we had some breakdowns there at the end of the half that should not have happened.
And for those who don't know, you turning the ball over as you were early, very uncharacteristic of this team. This team commits the fewest turnovers of any team in the OVC. I mean, that's just one of the things you do well, is not turn the basketball over.
Yeah, and it's something we've talked about since we gotten here. Our first year, we were just atrocious at taking care of the basketball. And we've made a huge emphasis, not that we didn't the first year, but I think the guys saw the results of like not taking care of the basketball, what it means. And so we've made a huge emphasis on that, not just that last year, but this year too. And it's something that we really talk about all the time in practice. We talk about it in games. It's one of our goals, to make sure we have less than 13 turnovers every single game. And this team that we were playing, Kansas State, they forced 16 turnovers a game. And not only do they force 16 turnovers a game, they're really good in scoring off of those turnovers. And that's what we did. I mean, we turned the ball over, and it led to instant offense for them.
Your offense has been really great at putting the ball in the basket. Now, there are so many different stats that you can get into the analytics to measure a team's offense. The most basic is, okay, how many points are you scoring? Well, you're scoring 78. Only Murray, Tech, and Jacksonville are scoring more points than you, 4th in the league in offense. Do you think you have a top 2 or 3 team in the league if you're just talking about offensive efficiency? Do you think you're near championship level in this conference as an offensive ball club?
Well, it's hard to say until you start playing OVC opponents. But I would like to think with the way we shoot the basketball, our skill level being out there, we're having so many guys that can pass the ball and also dribble the basketball, and the emphasis that we put on turnovers, I would think that we would be in the top tier of teams in the OVC as far as like being able to score, and more importantly, not just being able to score, but being efficient. I think there's a difference between the two. Sometimes teams are good scoring teams, but they're not very efficient. We want to be a good scoring team, but we also want to be efficient. Being efficient to me is more important than how many points you score.
And you have been an efficient offense.
Correct. And it's something we talk about. There's all this new analytics. And one of the things that we've really kind of hung our hat on so far this year is reducing our 2-point jump shots. It's like a barbell. And so 40% of your attempts are supposed to be at the rim, okay? 20% of your attempts are supposed to be 2-point jump shots, and 40% of your attempts are supposed to be threes. And then with our team, we don't have a great finishing team. We don't have high-flying athletes that are going in and being able to dunk it and finish at the rim. And so for a lot of our guys, their 2-point field goal percentage is not much of a difference between their 2-point field goal percentage and their 3-point field goal percentage. Well, it don't take a mad scientist to figure it out. Like, shoot the 3, because obviously you get more points for that 3, and it's not much difference between the two. So we focused in on that, and I think it's really helped us. Against UMKC, for instance, we showed our guys we were 0 of 8 on 2-point jump shots. UMKC was 1 of 9 on 2-point jump shots. So it's not hard to figure out. Offensively, don't take 2-point jump shots. Defensively, you want to force 2-point jump shots.
For the fans who would say, okay, you've got a championship caliber, in that tier offense, what are the adjustments you guys are working on to put you in that same stratosphere on defense, which you talk about more than you talk about the offense? You're always talking about, hey, we got to get better here, we got to get better here. You talk more about defense than you do about offense.
Yeah, I think some of the things are just totally out of our control. The first thing is our inexperience. We've got guys out there that have never seen some of the offenses that are going on right now. So every single day we're teaching guys how to guard a certain action against a different team. And at some point in time, it'll become old hat for these guys, because now that's screen-to-screener action. Oh, that's ball screen dive. That's roll replace. That's Michigan action, and they'll know it without us even, this is the way we're going to guard it. So some of it we don't have any control of. It's just guys getting experience and maturing and understanding what they need to do defensively. The other part of it is, we just haven't had a lot of continuity with all the injuries that we've had. One thing that people don't realize is what we're doing here, the success that we're having, is with all these injuries and guys being in and out. So we really don't have a flow right now. So, we've had Mark out, we've had Carp out, we've had Dondre out, we've had Ray out, we've had all these guys out.
And with Dondre being out, you said you've looked at the analytics of how much of a different team you are defensively when Dondre is in and when Dondre's out, right?
Yeah, and it's a small sample size, so you got to have some more, data in order to validate it. But at this point in time, when you look at him when he's in the lineup, our team is much better defensively, but it's only been 2 games, and now we have to look at the stats from this past game and see where it is once that comes out. But the first 2 games that he's played, when he's in the lineup, it's made a huge difference. So I think those are part of it. But the biggest thing for us is just our lack of communication. And, one thing that doesn't happen is, I went up to visit with Coach Izzo last summer, and he just talked about his team not talking, and they've got sports psychologists that they have on staff there that's with them 24/7 and things like that. And he just said that sports psychologists told him, hey, Coach, you're going to drive yourself crazy trying to get these guys to talk. They don't talk. They just don't. So for that 2.5 hours, you're trying to get them to do something that they don't normally do. You can go to, you've been there with us at dinner table. At the dinner table, they're not talking to each other. They're texting somebody else or FaceTiming with somebody else. There's not communication. So we're trying to get them to do something that they just don't do. They don't talk. They communicate via text or FaceTime or whatever it is, that avenue, direct message somehow.
So what, you talked to a lot of coaches. Like you said, you talked with Conzo Martin when you went to Columbia this past weekend. What are you hearing from other coaches trying to get past the same stumbling block that you're dealing with?
Well, it always boils down to this in coaching, and something you don't, you don't want to do. It's you have to be a jerk. That's what coaching is sometimes. It's you have to hold guys accountable. So what we're going to start doing in practice is every time somebody doesn't talk, we're going to run them. Okay, he didn't say this. He didn't call ball screen out. He didn't call down screen out. He didn't do this. And so we're going to tabulate that information and start running guys, at that time. And so hopefully at some point in time, they'll be like, hey, man, I'm tired of running for not saying my ball. I'm tired of running for not saying ball screen. I'm tired of running for not saying down screen. And it's just talking. So I'm going to go ahead and give in and cave in and do this, okay? But what happens is it becomes a war of wheels. And so, what I don't want to do is I don't want to spend all my time in practice running guys, because we're not a track team. We're a basketball team. And so, what I'd rather do is focus in on the basketball part of it. So it's the war of wheels. Am I going to give in to, because I don't want to have a track team, or are they going to give in and, finally just, start talking because they're tired of running? So we'll see what happens.
So, it's a question that you don't know what the answer is going to be. So what you're saying is right now your psychological struggle is jerk, or not jerk?
Yeah, and I don't want to be a jerk.
Right.
I mean, some people may say, my wife will probably say, you are a jerk. But I don't want to be that way. And I know, like, when I worked for Coach Walton in Indiana State, I mean, that's this whole deal. He said it's exhausting being this way the whole time. He said, but the players, he said, damn it, they forced me to be this way. So, but he was really good at it. He learned from the best. He worked for Bobby Knight for a long period of time.
I've never heard Bobby Knight ever referred to as a jerk.
Yes, I mean, so it's one of those deals that I just rather come in and coach basketball and go do some drills and compete and things like that, and like actually focus in on the basketball. But at some point in time, we're going to have to, like, get these guys to communicate and jump to the ball and do some of the things that we need them to do in order for us to be a good defensive team. Because I believe this, if we can fix our defense, then we're going to be a good team. I mean, because, like, I think our guys are understanding what they need to do offensively, and it's really hard to get guys to understand what you want offensively with such a young and inexperienced team. Now, we still have our struggles. We still take bad shots from here and there, turn the ball over and something like that. But for the most part, we've got guys doing what we want them to do offensively. Now we've got to get them to just be a better defensive team. And it's going to be incremental. It's not going to be all of a sudden we're going to go from being one of the worst teams in OVC defensively to one of the best teams. What we need to do is we need to grow to being in the middle of the pack defensively, and then by the time towards the second half of the OVC season, we're a formidable team on the defensive end as well as the offensive team.
So as far as the defense goes, for fans that are watching this ball club, what are the things that you see that are encouraging, or things that you see that you say, hey, I see flashes here. I see guys that are starting to pick it up?
Well, part of this too, and I always talk to this about our coaching staff, is, we've got to change too. I mean, we can't be in a situation where, hey, we always just blame the players. I mean, and that's the worst thing that I think we do as coaches sometimes. If something is wrong, we just start blaming the players. Well, no, blame goes to me. The blame goes to our coaching staff too, because we've got to figure out, if this is not working, what do we need to do? So one of the things we did, we eliminated one of the defenses that we were running, because I thought, it's that old adage, jack of no trades, master of none. So I just wanted to make sure, like, hey, let's eliminate this defense. Let's concentrate on these two defenses, and let's be really good at that. So that's the first thing that we did as coaches. The second thing is, like, what's our emphasis and what we're trying to do? Well, we were like, hey, we want to make sure we force people baseline and into, like, that wasn't working. I mean, we were just getting blitzkrieg baseline drives. And so what we did is, like, hey, let's keep everybody in front of us. Let's make it more of a pack, Wisconsin, Virginia type style, and just keep people in front of us. So that's helped us, some of these things. So we've got to make adjustments as coaches. But now, after we make those adjustments, we've got to be able to give that information to our guys, and now it's got to become habits. And so that's what we've got to do. And so you don't want to have long practices. That's one thing I don't want to do, is I don't want to be in practice for 2.5 hours. I don't want to be in practice because I think they become not conductive at that point in time. So what we got to do is we want to make sure we have productive practice and make sure, like, hey, we're getting habits. But habits take time. So we got to make sure we get guys, closing out with hands every single time, jumping to the ball every single time. Because when it's all said and done, Eric, when it's basketball, when you're playing defense, is all about closeouts, ball screen defense, and rebounding the ball. If you can be good at those three things, I mean, like, you got a good defensive team. Because, like, you look at what happens in college basketball now, it all boils down to, like, can you guard your yard on closeouts? Can you be good at ball screen defense? And can you go get it off the glass?
And the one thing about this game against Kansas State, offensively, you scored many more points than they normally give up. You shot a much higher percentage than they normally give up. You did enough offensively to be very competitive in that game.
Correct. I mean, now I will say this. I think the early onslaught by us, by not performing and doing the things that we need to do on the offensive end, led to them being very good on the offensive end. And so, like, our bad offense early led to them being really good offensively, because we were chasing them down in transition all the time. So we didn't do the things necessary on the offensive end in order for us to be successful. And so it made our defense bad. But as the time went along there, now they were in a rhythm. I mean, they had confidence. I mean, if we'd have came out and had a good defensive performance from the beginning, now they would have started thinking like, okay, here comes Tulsa again, that same situation. But we gave them that confidence right from the beginning, and they never looked back.
Daniel Simmons, coach, 17 points. Now, he had a career high against UMKC 2 games prior with 18 points. He comes out, I know he's not going to hit 5 threes every game, but 5 3-pointers, 17 points. Are you just seeing more and more progress with Daniel Simmons?
Well, and the one thing about Daniel now, every single time he hit a three, I mean, everybody knew it, right?
He let everybody know that he just hit a three.
We saw Daniel. He's holding his follow through. He's chirping to the crowd and things like that, and just like, hey, Daniel, we are down 15, But no, he's shooting the basketball well. He's so much more efficient than what he was last year, and so I think part of it is the fact that he's worked on his individual game. When this is all said and done, if guys don't take the onus to work on their own individual game, it doesn't mean anything as far as like them getting better. So a lot of the credit goes to him because he's worked on his game. He's worked on his body. He's able to play now without getting tired and getting fatigued. He's cut his body fat down. He's lost about 10 pounds. So, but more than anything, is buy-in. I mean, he's starting up now. It's still, anybody knows Daniel, you got to have your daily, hourly conversations with him, to kind of keep him on track there. But he's starting to buy into some of the things that we want him to do.
Dondre Duffus, coach, he's played 3 games now. Any effects? I mean, you see him 100% healthy. It's just a matter now of just knocking the rust off because, I mean, as far as sheer athleticism, he may be your best athlete, right? Yeah,
and you just never know. So he was complaining about, hurting again. After the game, so we have to get that evaluated and kind of see where it is because we definitely don't want to put him in harm's way. So hopefully there's nothing there as far as a reoccurring injury. But other than that, it's just about getting him back in shape. I mean, anytime somebody comes back from an injury, whether it be Carpenter, whether it be Mark, whether it be Dondre, Ray now, it's all about getting them back in shape so they don't hurt themselves.
Ray, you mentioned Ray?
Yeah, Ray pulled a hamstring, so it had been bothering him. He was kind of limping around a little bit in practice, and I'm always a guy who errs on the side of caution. I just don't think any reason why you should go out there and be at 50%, be at 70%. Let's get you to 100% and just sit you out, and so we can have success in the future.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Ray Kowalski did not play in the game against Kansas State, so that meant you only had 9 guys that saw minutes, only 8 scholarship guys that saw minutes in the game.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to go out there with a lineup that's not a full roster. Obviously, we don't have one scholarship field right now. We've got Skyler sitting out as a transfer, and we redshirted Khalil Cuffey, so we were already short based on that. But obviously you didn't see or foresee all the injuries that we were going to have here and there. Luckily, we haven't had any season-ending injuries, right. Things that have been prolonged where guys are going to miss 20 games or anything like that at all. So, I mean, where's some wood at here? So we'll make sure that we continue to try to do the right things for our guys, getting them back and making sure we're taking care of their bodies.
All right, we're going to talk with Justin Carpenter when we come back from this timeout. Tell us about the recruitment of Justin Carpenter and how he caught your eye and how you got him to Southeast Missouri State, because there are coaches around the conference and other basketball coaches that say, boy, that was a really good recruiting get for SEMO to get Justin Carpenter here.
Yeah, I was really sold on Justin Carpenter, and I apologize if I told the story already, but, I mean, it's the last day of the recruiting period. And in those days right there, they're like dog days. These guys, they play too many games in the July AAU period. It's just too many games. And so, really at those last week of playing, they're really not on out there and competing because they're just too tired. They're too fatigued. They're 16-year-old guys who are playing like an NBA schedule. It's just not fair to them. But I walk in there that last day. They're not playing for a championship or anything. His team, Pocket City, they're playing at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's in Kansas City. I mean, I walk in the gym there because I want to make sure I get there early so that, recruits see me. And, I mean, Justin Carpenter is just bouncing off the walls in the warm-up lines. I mean, he is just so energetic. He's talking. I mean, going through the warm-up lines, I mean, just excited. The rest of his team is just zombies. I mean, they just want to go home. I mean, they don't want to play at 8 o'clock. It's one of those deals where it's a fifth-place championship game and things like that. So when I saw him go out there and compete and perform the way with all that energy, I knew that he loved basketball. And so to me, it's really important that you go out and find guys that love basketball. And I knew right then and there, hey, this young man loves basketball. Now, some of the things you can just see, he's skilled. I mean, he's 6'9", and he can shoot threes. He can pass the ball. He can put it on the deck. And then also he has just a great feel for basketball, and that's nothing that you can teach. I mean, either a guy has it or he doesn't have it. He has a great feel for the game of basketball. So, you know, and then unbeknownst to me, after we get him, I didn't realize that everybody in his family wanted him to go to Eastern Illinois.
Oh, really?
His mom wanted him to go. His dad wanted him to go. His stepdad, so everybody, because of the proximity. So usually you don't win those battles. You know, when it's just one person, like the kid that wants to go to a place, usually like there's somebody of influence that's like, hey, you know, we really want you to go here and there. So I didn't know how big of a get it was until after we got him and we just having casual conversation. I didn't realize that, hey, like everybody in his camp wanted him to go to Eastern Illinois.
Well, I will say one thing. If facilities really wow young people, and we know that they do, Eastern can't wow anybody. That's the worst venue in our conference, and the Show Me Center is right up there among the best. So if you're recruiting with facilities against EIU, you got a big advantage, right?
Well, I won't say that. I won't go on record as saying that.
I will say that. They don't have good facilities at Eastern Illinois.
What I can say is that we have really good facilities here.
Yeah. And it's like a high school gym up there. I mean, it just is. I mean, if they could pump money into their place, they would. But they don't have it, so they're not going to. So we'll talk it over with Justin Carpenter. How close did he come to going to Eastern Illinois? How is college basketball compared to high school ball? He's from Mount Carmel, Illinois. Justin Carpenter will join us when we return on the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We're at Wings, Etc. in Cape on SEMO ESPN.
Winning jumbo wings and an ice-cold schooner while you watch great sports programming on huge flat screens at Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. If you love wings and a whole menu of great food and drink options, come to Wings Etc. for lunch, dinner, late-night drinks and snacking, and lots of HDTV sports. And now, when you can't eat, drink, and watch the game here, order online for pickup at togo.wingzgc.com. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Good food, great times, and online ordering at togo.wingzgc.com.
It's the River Radio Deals Guy with this week's River Radio half-price deal of the week. It's a great one. We're off to Little Caesars Pizza. We've got a $15 certificate good at Little Caesars Pizza for just half price, $7.50. Good in Jackson, Sykeston, Dexter, Fredericktown, and Cape Girardeau. Certificates on sale this Thursday morning, 10 a.m. online at riverradiodeals.com. That's riverradiodeals.com.
These days, it's easy to have information overload. Sometimes I just want to kick back, hear my favorite music and the news that affects me. That's why I stay tuned into my local radio station. When important news happens in my part of town, I hear it from them first. For the best entertainment, sports, news, weather, and traffic, anytime, anywhere, I stay local. Support your local stations. Text RADIO to 52886. Furnished by the NAB and this station. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
Low clouds, fog, and poor visibility will improve around mid-morning, and then we'll set the stage for some sunshine. Mild temperatures here this afternoon at 51. Partly cloudy tonight, low 40. Clouds on tap for tomorrow. Warm temperatures with a high 58 and showers on the way for Wednesday. Mild temperatures, highs at 53. We're true to Weather Good, the Weather Channel.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast right here on the ESPN Radio Network. This is your local home for Mike and Mike, the Sports Huddle, and all your favorite teams. Get it all right here.
This makes my day go great.
On the SEMO ESPN Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings, Etc. in Cape Girardeau, and Coach Rick Ray just joined us. He'll join us for the final segment coming up. This reminder, No coaches shows the next 2 Mondays because of the holidays. We'll be back here for the next show on January 8th. So 3 weeks from today will be the next show. So you can still show up Monday and eat at Wings. We encourage eating at Wings, but we won't be here for the coaches show again until the 8th of January. We want to remind you that their appetizer lineup here at Wings Etc. includes their ultimate nachos and their deep-fried pickle spears. If you're coming for lunch, their daily half-pound. Now, this is half-pound lunch specials. Start at just $6.49. They have food and drink specials throughout the week, including their award-winning jumbo wings, 69 cents. On Monday, they're open 7 days a week, and, of course, late on the weekends because the games run late. And whatever game you're talking about, you can watch it right here at Wings Etc. I think they had the Red Hawks game at Kansas State on the big screens here on Saturday. So people were at Wings. I know Matt Brucker, Red Hawk fan, sent a tweet out that he was watching the game here at Wings and listening, and sent us an email at the game at Kansas State. Let's welcome in Justin Carpenter, the talented freshman for the Red Hawks. How are you feeling? You missed the SIU game because of a concussion. Had you ever had a concussion before?
Yes, I had a concussion my freshman year of high school, and it wasn't as severe as that one. That one was from football. And those days that I took off really helped me get back to feeling normal and feeling good at that. And it really it was hard, sitting out a game, but, it was good.
So you played football as a freshman. After the concussion, how much longer did you play football in high school?
I played all the way up to my senior year.
Okay, so you didn't play as a senior.
Right.
Now, do you get advice? Because I know there are a lot of people that kind of talk to some, athletes and say, hey, you really have a chance maybe at a college scholarship or a real future in this sport, but you're playing multiple sports, so maybe you should just focus on one sport. Did somebody come to you and kind of suggest that?
A lot of people wanted to, put in their 2 cents, but I really kept it between my coaches and my family. And really, it was my dad that was saying, do what you want to do. If you want to play football, that's great. It may, keep you physical and keeps you in shape. But it was really just my mom and my dad really just saying that do what you want. And I really love basketball, so I just stick with that.
All right, you already know that you're my favorite player just because you're a ginger, okay?
Yeah,
red hair.
That's right.
So,
that's
it's been a long time since we had a ginger as a Red Hawk. I'll say that, does mom or dad, either of them have red hair?
No, sir.
Neither do mine.
Oh,
Neither
wow.
do mine, yeah.
That's awesome.
My mom's dad did, and my dad has a sister that had red hair, so it's that recessive gene type thing.
Okay. My dad gets a little in his beard when he grows it out. But,
all right.
Yeah.
All right, yes, Justin Carpenter, if you've not seen him, he is a ginger, 6'9". Were you always the tallest kid in school growing up?
Not until the end of my freshman year. I went in high school. Beginning of my freshman year, I was 5'11", and after my freshman year, I was 6'5", and then from then it just slowly progressed.
Now, when you grew that quick, like we've had Antonius Cleveland on this show over the years, he had this tremendous growth spurt. And, boy, sometimes that can play havoc with your knees. I know there's a condition called Osgood slaughter when you grow really fast. When you grew that quickly, did you have any physical ailments because of it?
Oh, for sure. I had Osgood slaughter in both knees, patella tendonitis in both, and then a slight LCL bruise in my left knee my freshman year.
All right, so it was neat being tall, I would think, but painful, right?
Right, correct.
All right, so as you are 5'11" as a freshman, then you're probably a guard, right? And
right.
then as you go into the growth spurt, is that when they kind of moved you into the front court? How'd that work?
I think I still possess some of the guard skills, and so that's what, especially at my high school, I would kind of do it all, but I had like the physical traits of like a big, so I could kind of do whatever coach wanted me to do.
All right, so they are asking you to stay down in the post. You're a very good post player, good footwork, you're very strong, and you're a good finisher around the basket. What's your preference? I mean, if the coach could say, hey, I want to hang out on if you want to hang out on the arc and shoot threes, go for it, or I like to play on the post more. What if you could choose? You don't get to, but if you could choose, where would you like to go?
I think I'm starting to like it more and more in the post, especially with my, my efficiency that I've been able to show around the rim. And but I do like to stretch the floor every once in a while. I enjoy really anything, whatever coach wants me to do. If I had to choose, I'd probably do a little bit more of stretching the floor a little bit, but it's whatever he wants, and I'll do my best at it.
Justin Carpenter, Red Hawks freshman out of Mount Carmel, Illinois, second in the Ohio Valley Conference in field goal percentage. He's the 14th leading rebounder in the league. So with the concussion, tell us, how it happened, and tell us what kind of symptoms, because every concussion is different. Everyone has different types of symptoms or severity of symptoms. I know headaches and, light sensitivity are some of the things. So what was it with you?
Well, it started, we were in practice, and Coach has been getting on to us about, diving on the floor and hustle plays, the little things that make differences in games. And there was a loose ball, and I dove for it, and my head hit the back of Ladarius Brewer. And it wasn't hard, but it was just the right way that it got hit that it just, concussed me. And my symptoms, it was more like I was sensitive to noise rather than light.
Gotcha.
And then I felt, like my stomach would hurt when I started to walk around a lot. And really it was just, it just bothered me. Like I felt irritated the whole time.
So you had a little nausea and sensitivity to sound. I know I got a concussion by getting hit in the face by a baseball going 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah, I had to get stitches in the lip. And I had some really weird thoughts right after. I was thinking about Saturday morning cartoons for some reason. Did you have any weird thoughts or anything like that after it happened?
No, not like that, no.
Some people, you see the old cartoons about seeing stars.
Right.
I did. I saw these little – you have anything like that? You see stars or anything?
Not this time, no.
Okay, so how long did it linger for you? And tell us about, we hear the term concussion protocol. You hear that a lot when it comes to NFL players. We're hearing it much more now with college athletes. You've got to be in concussion protocol. Tell us about you and what you had to do in concussion protocol.
So Miss Amanda, our athletic trainer.
Amanda Martin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She kind of just felt out through my symptoms and really didn't like what she was hearing. So I had to take this little test that adds up my symptoms and tells me what I need to do or whatever. And really it was just a matter of staying in a dark room and sleeping as much as I could, getting as much rest as I could, getting those symptoms down, doing whatever, helps that. And for me, it was sleeping. And after you get those symptoms down to a score of 0, then you have 24 hours to where you can be cleared to do any activity. So after you get those symptoms down, you have another day before you can do any kind of exercise. And then she had me do some light stuff in practice after those 24 hours. And the next day I did a little bit more in practice. And then the next day we were at Kansas State.
So you take it slow. They see how your body responds, if it responds well. But I know this concussion protocol is pretty strict stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
How scary was it, or was it not as scary knowing that you had already suffered a concussion and you'd kind of been through it before?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, giving my, past with my headaches and that concussion, and it's always, you got to be real cautious about your head, and but I knew what it felt like and what I needed to do, and it wasn't as severe, I could tell. So, I mean, it wasn't that scary.
So one of those deals that did it help you think that you had been through it before?
Oh, yeah, I think it helped.
Yeah. Justin Carpenter, our guest, the freshman sensation for the Red Hawks. As far as working against Division I guys, you're banging with some really big, strong dudes, upperclassmen, a lot of them. So you can have all the confidence in the world that, hey, I can go in there, I can score on these guys, I can play with these guys. You might believe that you are confident enough to do it, but in the back of your mind, are you thinking, okay, what's it going to be like when I really get in here with some of these D1 athletes, guys that may already have 80, 90 games of Division I basketball under their belts? Is that in the back of your mind saying, I think I can play with these guys, but you really don't know until you do it?
I think it was always in the back of my mind. I thought I could always play with them just from what I know in basketball and my natural talents. But when I really got out there, it was like, whoa, it was just the real difference was the speed in the game. I loved in high school, getting physical down low, and especially now, I like more in the post. I love it now, but I always thought I could, and still think I can, and I feel like I'm doing pretty well at it.
Well, the one thing when you're in high school, more often than not, you're probably the biggest, strongest dude on the floor in most games that you play, and now you're hardly ever the biggest, strongest dude, right?
Yeah, that was a huge change. Walking around feeling normal in my height, in my position and stuff, and in high school, because you're like probably 5-6 inches taller than everybody else on the court at least, and then in college it's different. You're playing with people the same, if not the same skill set, the same size, the same abilities, the same work ethic. So it's just cool kind of seeing the difference and all of that.
All right, you won a regional championship at Mount Carmel. How cool was that?
That was pretty cool. The regional was really cool. I think that was our 3 out of the 4 years I were there. Don't quote me on that, but that was cool. Then moving on to sectionals, super sectionals, and then we got to go to state. That was really cool.
So what was it like each time you took another step up for you and the team?
It was really cool to get to sectionals. Super sectionals felt kind of like surreal to me. Like that was playing at Carbondale, playing in a college arena, like looking around, getting like awe-shocked. Like wow, this is really cool. This is what it could be like in like a year for me. And then what really got me was at state, and we had when we walked down to the court.
Where do they play the state tournament in Illinois?
We had it at Bradley.
Okay, Bradley.
Yep. And we had our whole crowd that was like at the game, which was I want to say over 100, maybe 200 people were there, and we walked from the hotel. There's like a skywalk from the hotel to the arena, and then down and into the court. And we walked from there, and there were our fans like lined up, and that was really cool to see everybody there like cheering us on. And I almost teared up because it's my senior year. Yep. We're at the state championship. It was really cool.
Carver Arena, that's a really nice place to play where the Bradley Braves play. All right, so you aren't that far from Evansville. You're not that far from Carbondale. Clearly, you're close to Charleston, Illinois, where Eastern Illinois is recruiting you. Mm-hmm. Evansville, SIU, Eastern Illinois. Did all those teams recruit you? Tell us about the teams that were in the mix with the Red Hawks.
Evansville recruited me a little bit. Eastern was the other one, really. Eastern and SEMO were my top two, and they were really, head-to-head. But yeah, that was pretty much it. It was really just between Eastern and SEMO.
It wasn't much of a competition if you're looking at facilities, right? I mean, I don't want to downgrade Lance Gymnasium in Charleston, but it's no show-me center.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When I saw this gym, I thought, wow, it could seat my population at Mount Carmel. So that was really cool to see. And
But for those who, kind of want to hear from a guy who's 17, 18 years old when they're on recruiting trips, facilities matter, don't they?
Oh, for sure. You see the resources that you get compared to what you have in high school, and you might say, wow, I get to use this at my expense every day.
All right. You guys are getting ready for the Bradley Braves coming in here on Wednesday, an afternoon midweek game for the Bradley Braves. Chance for you guys to get back in the win column. You had your winning streak snapped Saturday.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And I'm just excited to keep playing, and I think we could compete with a lot of teams, and I'm just excited to keep playing.
All right. What have you alerted your parents to top of my Christmas list? Because we're a week away now.
For the past about 2 or 3 years, I've wanted a Giannis Antetokounmpo jersey, and I just got onto him again. I want it bad.
Okay, you going to pronounce that last name again for me?
Antetokounmpo.
That's very nice. Very nice. The Greek freak for the Milwaukee Bucks. What do you think your chances are of getting it this year?
Oh, man, I hope my mom's watching this right now. I hope it's higher now.
All right, good stuff. Are you on social media? We'll get you a couple of followers on Twitter or Instagram. Tell us where we can find you.
Twitter, I forget my @ name. Matt Brucker definitely knows my @ name, I think.
Okay, so we tweet at Matt Brucker, and he'll know just exactly what's going on. All right, Justin, fantastic. Thanks so much for the time, and best of luck the rest of your freshman season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, that's the Ginger, Justin Carpenter, here at the Coaches Show. We'll take one final timeout, come back to wrap it up with Coach Ray after this from Wings. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN.
Programming. At Wings, etc., we love big, cooked to tender, crisp perfection wings. And so do our fans who have voted our wings best in more and more cities across the Midwest. At Wings, etc., we love beer. We love it so much that we have over 40 different kinds of beers in bottles and on tap, including your favorite regional craft beers. Wings, etc., it's not complicated, and we like it that way. Come see us today.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
Low clouds, fog, and poor visibility will improve around mid-morning, and then we'll set the stage for some sunshine. Mild temperatures here this afternoon at 51. Partly cloudy tonight, low 40. Clouds on tap for tomorrow. Warm temperatures with a high 58, and showers on the way for Wednesday. Mild temperatures, highs at 53. We're treated weather at the Weather Channel.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast right here on the ESPN Radio Network.
This is Mike Greenberg for the best in local sports talk and play-by-play. It's SEMO ESPN.
Final segment here on the Red Hawks Coaches Show with Coach Rick Ray. Thanks to Justin Carpenter. He did a great job. We get people on this show, whether they're freshmen to senior year. You don't know if they're going to be nervous. You don't know if they are going to kind of lock up. You don't know how they're going to be when you're talking to them. You try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. He seemed like a pro, man. I mean, he's 18 years old.
Yeah, well, the first thing I had to do was readjust the headsets here. You know, he's got kind of a big head. Carp is like when I first had my initial conversation with him on the phone, you know how it is. We talk to all these guys and recruits, and sometimes you don't have an engaging conversation. Most of the time these guys are playing PlayStation or, you know, doing something there besides just having a conversation with you. But he was totally engaged. We had great conversations. He's really bright, but he also has a lot of common sense too. I really liked his personality. You can see just in that brief time when you conversating with him, just like how enjoyable it is to talk with him. So I think he can write his own ticket, not just on the court, but also off the court.
You know, we look at the way that the sports media now overhypes things, and, you know, we got to have things to talk about, and without trying to overhype anybody, I mean, you just watch his skill set as a freshman. I mean, he's got all of the earmarkings of a future all-conference player if he stays healthy and continues to work hard, right?
Yeah, and that's what I believe when we were recruiting him. I thought that, you know, I say these things, and you know me, Eric. I don't, you know, inflate our guys, because I just don't want to do that, because it's not fair to them. Because now when you overinflate them and they come in and they don't have the success, now you don't look like you know what you're talking about. But more importantly, you put all that burden on that young man, and he may not be ready for that, because college is a huge adjustment. And so these guys go through so many things the first time they've been away from home. Maybe they broke up with their girlfriend. You know, just so many things that happen that goes into, like, them not performing well on the court. What I did see with Justin was a guy, and also with Ladarius Brewer, was a guy that could be an all-conference guy if he worked on his game and if he matured and if he did the things necessary in order for him to be a good player. So it's all about how they handle the workload once they get here. So we said the same thing about Denzel Mahoney. And so some of these guys, they just have it, and it's just all about their workload and how they go about their business. But, you know, Carp is a young man that you covet that skill level at that height.
You talked about Ladarius Brewer, how they handle different things. It'll be interesting, I guess, as a coaching staff to kind of see how Ladarius really copes with his first game where he didn't really have any success. 22 minutes, did not score, 0 for 5. We're not used to seeing that from Ladarius. And, you know, he's not used to not having success as a Division I basketball player. So it should be interesting to see how Ladarius responds to that.
Well, if anybody knows Ladarius, I'm not concerned about that at all. He's a confident young man. So he'll bounce back and be fine. You know, but this is what you have when you're dealing with freshmen and guys that are getting a lot of playing time and opportunity. They're going to have their ups and downs, and at some point in time, you'll see all these guys hit a wall because they've never played this much basketball in their life before, and not having played this much basketball, but also not having played this much basketball against quality competition the whole time. I mean, let's face it, when you're in high school, there's games that they go out and they really don't have to play hard. I mean, they're winning games 70-30 and things like that. There's nobody out there that can physically match up with them, so they're able to take a lot of plays off. But now, every single day that they set foot on the court, I mean, they have to be ready to compete because this is the first time there's guys like them on the court, whether it be in practice or in the game. And, you know, and especially in a practice situation with those guys. Can you imagine those guys playing against their JV opponents like Justin Carpenter and Ladarius Brewer,
right.
you know, playing against their JV team? I mean, they're getting no competition. And so sometimes, like when you recruit some of these guys that go to a really good high school program or to a prep school where they're getting competition day in and day out, they may not have the numbers that some of these other high school kids have, but they've been against good competition day in and day out, so they know they're going to have that adjustment period. It's going to be a lot shorter than a typical high school kid.
Bradley will be in here Wednesday. It's a 1 o'clock game. You like an afternoon game in the midweek? It's not something we see very often.
I like playing early.
Yeah.
And, you know, like it drives me crazy when we're on the road, especially when we're on the road.
Sit in a hotel.
And sit in a hotel that whole time and play a game at 7 o'clock. I want to, especially on the road on a Saturday, I want to get up, eat some breakfast. I love having breakfast for pregame meal. Like that, I mean, it's one of the few joys that I have in my life is that I want to have breakfast for a pregame meal and then go right to go play a game. So I love the early starts. I hate the 7 o'clock, 6:30, 8 o'clock night games, especially on a weekend.
All right, Bradley will be in here, and this is a very good team coming to the Show Me Center. Good conference, Missouri Valley. They're 9-2. They beat you last year.
Yeah, and I tell you, we've got a very daunting schedule here coming up. I mean, I started to look at some things. I don't look too far out, but, you know, we play Bradley. We play St. Louis. We just got done playing K-State. And then when we come back conference play, our first game would be Belmont and Tennessee State. So, I mean, the competition for our guys is going to be really high. But Bradley is a team. Brian Wardo is a guy who's had tutelage underneath Tom Crean. He's been exposed to Rick Majerus. Anybody knows that Rick Majerus is one of the great coaches ever in the history of college basketball. And he's went out and he's recruited some of his own guys now. And they're a young team too. But they will not beat themselves. They can really shoot the basketball. And their team defense, individually, they're not great. But their team defense, I mean, they are going to be there for help side. So our guys have got to make sure that they understand we're not splitting this team. You're not going to beat your guy and get all the way to the rim. We've got to move the basketball. So, I mean, I just think that what I've seen so far, and they've absolutely destroyed their last two opponents with Arkansas Little Rock and then also with Chicago State.
I know you haven't seen a lot of the OVC teams on film, and you will as you get ready to start conference play. But just as a coach in the league, looking at scores, looking at quality wins, Murray, Tech, Jacksonville, Belmont, this looks like a real up season for OVC men's basketball. You know you'll have down years where it may be strong at the top, but the lower portion of the conference doesn't look very good. This looks like potentially a really good year for OVC basketball.
Yeah, and I think what happens a lot of times is when you look at non-conference schedules and non-conference records with teams like an OVC team or like some of these so-called mid-majors where you're going to play some of these bye games and playing difficult games, you got to not look at the schedule. You got to look at who they played and when they played them and the quality of that competition. So, I mean, I don't look at Tennessee State's game against Kansas.
Right.
You know, I don't look at a Tennessee Tech's game against Georgetown or anything like that. I look at when they play common opponents. And to me, what I've seen, you know, Belmont is always going to be good. Rick Berg does a tremendous job with that team. You look at Murray State and all the talent that they brought back and what they have coming in. I've looked at Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech is really playing well. They're really efficient on the offensive end. Jacksonville State, I mean, I saw them play a half of basketball just casually, and I mean they're really good.
They may be as good as Belmont.
They're so big and long at the rim. I mean, that's the thing to me that separates them right now. They're like Tennessee State in that regard, where like you're not getting points in the paint against them because they're coming over, they're blocking shots, they're walling up. So you know he's just done a tremendous job over there. So you look at some of these teams, and then some of the teams that you say might be struggling, where you see a team like SIUE beat South Alabama. So all these teams have the competition. Eastern Illinois, who's struggling at this point in time, but you see them take Marquette in overtime before they lose. So it's going to be a situation where, like, the little things, free throw shooting, blockouts, not turning the basketball over, is going to end up winning you a ball game. I mean, I forget who was playing free throw blockout, in a game I was watching the other day. It's just like if they just block out Indiana. It was Indiana. If
Right.
Indiana,
Notre Dame.
If Notre Dame just blocks out on a free throw, they win the game. And so, like, we show our guys these things all the time about, like, the little things end up being the difference between a win and a loss.
That's going to do it here for the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Don't forget, we'll be back in 3 weeks. January 8th will be our next Coaches Show. Red Hawks will host Bradley at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Coach, thanks for the time. We'll see you at the Show Me Center.
Thank you very much.
And happy holidays to you.
Appreciate that.
All
Same
right.
to everybody else.
All right, that's Coach Rick Ray. That's going to do it. Thanks to Cody Sandusky, Dean Field, our chief engineers on site. Thanks also to Justin Carpenter for joining us. We'll see you at the Show Me Center Wednesday for the Red Hawks game with Bradley. Until then, back to ESPN Radio. So long, everybody.
Radio Sports Network, 92.9 KLSC Malden, 1220 KGIR, Cape Girardeau, and 1470 KMAL Malden.